Hi and welcome to this week's walkthrough video from 2way Kids, where each week we upload 3 printable Bible lessons for you to use if you're under 5s at home or at church to help them to explore God's Word and to apply it to their life. Well, this week we're looking at one of the most famous chapters in the whole of the Bible, maybe the most famous one, and that's John chapter 3, and that's a conversation between Jesus and Nicodemos. So if you haven't already done so, can I just encourage you to head over to the website at truewaykids.com, and there you can download this week's lesson and then follow along. So on the front cover of this week you'll see there's a scene, there's Nicodemus coming out to speak to Jesus at night. And as you open up a lesson, on the first page as always is the introduction and lesson guide. This explains some of the main points that we want to try and teach through this lesson, some of the main things it teaches. So firstly we're going to try and explain to our preschool children something which is really hard even for grown-ups to understand, but there's a difference between physical life and spiritual life, and there's a few activities that try to explore this further on. Then we're going to see that doing good isn't enough. You know, Nicodemus, he was somebody who not only obeyed the law, he was one of the Pharisees and rulers who made the law. And when he came to Jesus, he could come with a good list of all the things he'd done. People respected him, but Jesus still told him that you must be born again. And while we want to encourage our children to be good, we want them to realize that good deeds in themselves is not enough, that we must trust in Jesus. And then finally we're going to learn and focus on this wonderful verse that God so loved the world, that he loved us, that he loved your child, your children so much that he sent Jesus, that if we believe in him we may have eternal life and we can enjoy life with him. Then in the lesson guide just below here there's a number of different games and activities that we focus on. We're also going to look at things that Nicodemus went to ask Jesus questions, and we're going to see how we can come to Jesus with our questions. We're going to look at things that we can't see and can see, but this affects, for example, we can't see the wind when it's blowing, but we can see the effect that the wind has, and so we may not see if spiritual life is there or not, but we can see a result of spiritual life, and we're going to think a little bit of the fruits of the Spirit as we do that. Well, once we finish the lesson guide, you'll see there's the printable story. So what we always do is print it over 2 pages, like so, and all you need to do is once you print the story out you can fold it back to front, and I'll make the book and give you some of the pictures we have here. Nicodemus then going out in the night to speak with Jesus, and then Jesus telling him you need to be born again. Then the verse, God so loved the world. Well, it comes down to games and activities. You know, games and activities are a really good way just to reinforce the important truths that we learn in the Bible passages, for you help your child to apply them. So here we see some. The first one is to make a kite or a windmill. So inside this week's lesson is also a pattern to make a paper windmill. We'll look at that in a little bit. But also you can make a kite, or just use a kite if you already have one. It's just a way of talking again about the wind. Like we just mentioned, you can't see it, but you can see its effects. And so when we have spiritual life, when we have Jesus and God lived inside of us, then it shows something. We live differently. You can see that. Next, not to get caught. So this is a game that Nicodemus went out by night to see Jesus because he didn't want other people to know that he was talking to Jesus. So in this game, one child must stand there facing the wall with their back facing everybody else in the room, and the other people left in the room need to try and sneak up and tap the child or the grown up, whoever it be, facing the wall on the back without getting caught. If the person facing the wall could turn around at any time, when they turn around everyone needs to freeze. If they're spotted moving, then you go back to the start again, but not being caught. We can explain that Nicodemus didn't want to get caught speaking to Jesus. And finally, I spy in the dark. You know, Nicodemus went out by night, so I spy is a very typical game. We all know how to play it, but in this game you're going to play it in a dimly lit room or in darkness really, and it's going to be a lot harder because the colours are going to disappear a little bit and it's going to be harder to see things. So you're going to I spy with my little eye, and you can use a letter, something beginning with whatever letter or with a colour, but again colours are going to be harder because it's darker. A few different worksheets in this week's lesson. The first one here is jigsaw. So you see the world map there, and there's some lines. You need to cut out the lines. Then above it says, for God so loved the world, John 3:16. All you need to do is cut them out, shuffle them around, and your child needs to put that jigsaw back together. The next one is which things come out at night. So you see below is a night picture, and then you can either cut them out or you can just draw lines. But for an example, an owl will come at the night, it will go down, the sun wouldn't come, so it wouldn't come out. So you can either glue them onto the picture or just draw lines. Next one is colouring page. It's you see a rough world map here. What they need to do is colour in the ocean and the seas in blue, and then colour the actual land in green. This should get an idea of what the world looks like and see the difference between land and water. Then there's a verse just before. It says that just as Moses lifted up the snake in the desert, so the Son of Man should be lifted up, for God so loved the world whoever believed in him. And so we often forget the verse before. But we're going to talk about, in part of this lesson, about lifting Jesus up, how we can show Jesus more for our lives. So this verse is just up or down, and the arrows are pointing up, arrows pointing down. You just need to colour the up arrows green and down ones red. Again, that's just for our children to think a bit more about up and down, but also to realise how we need to lift Jesus up. This week's craft is again nice and easy in the printable template here. So here's the actual one that we made. You'll see there's a picture of the world there with two hands with a heart on it, and the heart saying John 3:16, for God so loved the world that he gave his one and only Son. So to make it a bit more localised to you, I know we have people all over the world using these lessons now. So first of all, you'll see the template. This will be the same wherever you're at. So you'll have two hands, the heart with a Bible verse. Again, if you're using it in Spanish or Portuguese or French, this Bible verse will be in your language, and this example is in English. And I've actually got 4 pictures of the world, so you can try and find the part of the world that your country is in, whether this you see Australia and some of Asian countries there, China and so on. Here you see in really the middle of the world, so we have Africa and we have South America and North America. Here, and we also see UK, here where we are, and then lots of Europe. And this one is far more just on Europe and Africa and some of Russia and Stan countries over here. And then finally is one of the Americas, of South America, North America, and of course Caribbean and Canada. So what you can do, and I encourage you to do, is just to print the page that you need. You don't need all 4, you only need 1. But use a part so you can show your child where in the world they actually are. And then again, just build it so you colour that in, glue the heart, just glue the centre bit of the heart to put it on so it sticks up a bit 3D, and the hands just glue onto the sides. And it's a very simple craft your child can put it around their room anyway, and also remember one of these key verses of the Bible. I mentioned earlier it's a free pattern also to make a windmill in this week's lesson, and here it is. So nice and easy. Again, you just cut it out. You need to fasten a pin to put through here, put all the corners in, put it onto a stick or a straw, anything button you got, and that would blow away in the wind. Again, you can colour it in to make it look more attractive. So that brings on to colouring pages. I just noticed that this page didn't print right, so I'll fix it by the time you see it. But here's a picture of Nicodemos speaking to Jesus, so you can colour that picture in nicely. Here's another one just of Nicodemos himself. There's pictures of Jesus in past lessons. If you need to print one of them, just follow one of those past lessons. Famous first day of Jesus telling Nicodemus that you must be born again. And then picture of Jesus in the world and saying, for God so loved the world, with John 3:16 written on it. And that's this week's lesson. You know, this week's lesson again, it covers one of the most famous passages of the Bible. I really pray that as you look at your child, that they really understand that God loved them so much, He sent Jesus, so they can enjoy Him forever, and that we must put our trust in Him. So there's some songs as well that help us to worship God, help us to teach some of these truths to our children, a prayer. And next week we'll go on to fishers of men, where Jesus talks to Peter and Andrew there as they are fishing and says, you know, come out into the boat again, and they catch a great fish and they come back, and He said, it's time to be fishers of men. Well, I pray a wonderful week. May God bless you. We always love to hear from you, so any comments, any suggestions, please send me an email, and we just really are so blessed by your encouragement. I will see you again next week for next week's lesson. Have a great week. God bless.